Midnight between November 14th and 15th, 7 U.S. warships cross into Venezuelan territorial waters. No warning, no ultimatum, no declaration, just silent advancement toward Caracas under cover of darkness. USS George Washington Carrier Strike Group leads the formation. 2 Arleigh Burke destroyers flank the carrier. 1 Ticonderoga cruiser provides air defense. 2 Virginia-class submarines run ahead submerged. 1 supply ship follows at distance. This is not freedom of navigation operation. This is invasion fleet. At 0030 hours, Venezuelan coastal radar detects the incursion. At 0045 hours, Caracas issues emergency alert. At 0100 hours, Venezuelan president appears on television. The American invasion has begun. Venezuela will defend every inch of its territory. Citizens must prepare for war. By 0200 hours, the Caribbean is burning. The war that everyone predicted. The conflict that nobody prevented. The invasion that will determine whether America can still impose its will on the Western Hemisphere. This is how it starts. This is war in the Caribbean. The reasons for invasion go back months, but the immediate trigger was oil. Venezuela nationalized $14 billion in American assets on November 3rd. ExxonMobil facilities seized. Chevron operations shut down. ConocoPhillips personnel detained. American oil companies lost everything they built over decades. Washington demanded immediate return of assets. Caracas refused. Diplomatic negotiations collapsed within 48 hours. Economic sanctions achieved nothing because Venezuela already faced maximum sanctions. Military options were all that remained. President authorized Operation Caribbean Freedom on November 10th. 4 days later, the invasion began. This was not about democracy. This was not about humanitarian intervention. This was about 304 billion barrels of oil and teaching the hemisphere a lesson about seizing American property. The operational plan was aggressive and sophisticated. Phase 1 would establish naval dominance and air superiority. Phase 2 would conduct precision strikes against military targets. Phase 3 would insert ground forces to secure oil infrastructure. Phase 4 would install interim government friendly to American interests. Total timeline estimated at 72 hours from first shot to regime change. Pentagon planners were confident. Venezuelan military was degraded. Russian weapons were outdated. Cuban advisors were limited. Chinese presence was minimal. American technological superiority was overwhelming. Victory was certain. The plan looked perfect. Reality would prove different. What's your prediction for this conflict? Type A if you think USA wins quickly. Type B if you think Venezuela puts up serious resistance. 0100 hours. First shots fired. Not by America. By Venezuela. Coastal defense batteries opened fire on approaching American warships. Russian-made P-800 Oniks anti-ship cruise missiles launched from positions near Puerto Cabello. Supersonic missiles, Mach 2.5 speed. Sea-skimming flight profile, 50 feet above waves. 4 missiles targeted USS George Washington. Aegis system detected launches immediately. SM-6 interceptors fired from USS Wayne E. Meyer destroyer. 2 Oniks destroyed. 3rd interceptor missed. 4th missile closed on the carrier. Final defense was RIM 116 rolling airframe missile. Close in-point defense, last chance. The ram engaged at 1 mile. Direct hit. Warhead detonated 800 yards from carrier. Shrapnel peppered flight deck. Minor damage. 3 crew wounded. But the psychological impact was enormous. Venezuela demonstrated capability and will to fight back. This would not be easy, victory planners promised. 30 hours. American retaliation was overwhelming. 64 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched from destroyers and cruisers. Each missile cost $1.87 million. Total salvo value exceeded $119 million worth of precision firepower. Targets were Venezuelan air defense systems, military bases, and command centers. The missiles flew at 550 miles per hour just above terrain. Terrain following guidance made them difficult to intercept. At 52 hours, first impacts occurred. Maracaibo Air Base runway exploded. La Carlota Air Base Command Center collapsed. Generalissimo Francisco de Miranda. Air base fuel storage erupted in massive fireball. Caracas Military Communications Hub disintegrated. Venezuelan integrated air defense suffered catastrophic damage in 22 minutes. This was shock and awe applied with surgical precision. American military was demonstrating the cost of resistance. 200 hours. Venezuelan Air Force attempted response. 12 Su-30 Mk2 fighters scrambled from surviving airfield near Barcelona. These were Venezuela's most capable aircraft. Russian-made, twin engines, advanced avionics, armed with R-77 air-to-air missiles. The pilots were brave and well-trained, but they faced impossible odds. 60 Fa-18 Super Hornets from USS George Washington established combat air patrol. Venezuelan fighters were outnumbered 5-1. Modern air combat is not about pilot skill, it's about sensor range and weapons reach. American AESA radar detected Venezuelan aircraft at 150 miles. AIM-120D missiles have 100-mile range. Venezuelan pilots never saw their opponents. 8 Su-30s were shot down before they could engage. Remaining 4 fled back to base. Venezuelan Air Force lost 2/3 of its fighter strength in 8 minutes without scoring a single hit. Air superiority was established. Venezuela would fight the rest of the war without air cover. If you're enjoying this deep dive into modern warfare, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. 0245 hours. Cuban forces stationed in Venezuela activated. 1,500 Cuban military advisors had been training Venezuelan forces for years. They were technically non-combatants. That fiction ended when American missiles started hitting Cuban advisors at Venezuelan bases. 23 Cuban personnel died in Tomahawk strikes. Havana immediately declared Cuba would defend its personnel and Venezuelan sovereignty. Cuban military in Venezuela received authorization to engage American forces. This was not Cuban invasion. This was Cuban personnel already in-country transitioning to combat operations. The American invasion just expanded to include Cuba as belligerent. Pentagon planners had not accounted for Cuban active resistance. Intelligence estimated Cuban advisors would evacuate or remain passive. That estimate was catastrophically wrong. 0330 hours. Venezuelan Navy attempted sortie. 4 Lupo-class frigates and 6 patrol boats tried to leave Puerto Cabello Naval Base. The mission was suicide, but necessary. If Venezuelan Navy remained in port, American aircraft would destroy them. At sea, they might damage enemy ships before dying. At 0345 hours, Venezuelan vessels cleared harbor. At 0352 hours, American submarines detected them. USS Virginia and USS Texas were positioned exactly for this scenario. Each submarine carried 12 Harpoon anti-ship missiles plus Mark 48 torpedoes. The submarines fired Harpoons first. 16 missiles launched in rapid succession. Venezuelan ships detected incoming missiles at 12 miles. They launched chaff and executed evasive maneuvers. 2 patrol boats were hit immediately. 1 sank, another dead in water. Frigates continued toward American carrier group. They never made it. Mark 48. Torpedoes finished the job, wire-guided, active sonar homing. 55 knots. Venezuelan frigates had no chance. All 4 were sunk within 20 minutes. Venezuelan Navy ceased to exist as fighting force. 347 sailors died. Some ships went down so fast there were no survivors. American submarines suffered 0 casualties. 0430 hours. First American ground forces landed, not Marines. Special operations. Navy SEALs and Army Rangers inserted via helicopter near critical oil infrastructure. Their mission was securing facilities before Venezuelan forces could sabotage them. 4 objectives: Amway Refinery Complex, Paraguaná Refinery, Jose Terminal, Maracaibo Basin oil fields. Each site received 1 platoon, 40 operators total across all sites. The insertions were opposed. Venezuelan guards opened fire. Special operators returned fire with overwhelming violence. The firefights were brief and decisive. Rangers and SEALs train for exactly these scenarios. Venezuelan guards were security personnel, not elite infantry. Within 30 minutes, American forces controlled all 4 sites. 8 Venezuelan guards killed, 19 wounded, 23 captured, 0 American casualties. The oil infrastructure was secure, mission accomplished. But holding it would be harder than taking it. Don't miss what comes next. Make sure you're subscribed so you never miss an analysis like this. Over 30 hours. Venezuelan army mobilized. 20,000 troops deployed from barracks across the country. Their destination was defensive positions around Caracas and major cities. Venezuelan military strategy was clear. Cannot defeat American technology, cannot contest air or sea, but can make occupation costly through urban warfare, turn cities into fortresses, force Americans to fight building to building, impose casualties that American public will not accept. This was Fallujah strategy applied to entire country. American military can destroy Venezuelan forces in open terrain. Urban combat is different. Precision weapons lose advantage when enemy hides among civilians. This is where guerrilla tactics neutralize technological superiority. Venezuelan generals understood they could not win conventionally, but they might win politically by making victory too expensive for America to accept. 600 hours. Sunrise revealed the devastation. Caracas skyline showed columns of smoke from burning military facilities. Venezuelan flag still flew over presidential palace, but government control was tenuous. American carriers now operated with impunity 50 miles offshore. The naval blockade was complete. No ships could enter or leave Venezuelan ports. Air superiority was absolute. But no American troops occupied Venezuelan territory except oil installations. The invasion had achieved military objectives, but the political objective of regime change remained elusive. Venezuelan president had not fled. Government had not collapsed. Military had not surrendered. Phase 1 was successful. Phase 2 was beginning. That's when complications multiplied. Bureau 645 hours. Chinese Foreign Ministry issued emergency statement. China does not recognize American right to invade sovereign nation. China demands immediate withdrawal. China will provide all necessary assistance to Venezuela. The statement was stronger than previous Chinese positions. Beijing had 15 military advisors in Venezuela. They were positioned at critical facilities. American operations might kill Chinese personnel. That would create international incident far beyond Venezuelan conflict. State Department immediately contacted Beijing through back channels. Message was clear. Remove Chinese personnel, or accept risk they get caught in combat. Chinese response was equally clear. Chinese advisors will remain. Any harm to them will have consequences. The bluff and counterbluff raised stakes dramatically. What would you have done if you were commanding Venezuelan Defense Forces? Comment your answer below. 0730 hours. Colombia announced emergency measures. President Santos declared enhanced border security and prohibited American use of Colombian territory for Venezuelan operations. This was a significant setback. American planners expected Colombian cooperation, or at least benign neutrality. Instead, Bogotá was actively constraining American options. The reasons were pragmatic. Colombia shares 1,400-mile border with Venezuela. Venezuelan collapse would send millions of refugees flooding into Colombia. Better to contain the war than deal with aftermath. Colombian military moved to border positions. Message was clear: keep the war in Venezuela. Any spillover triggers Colombian response. American invasion just became more complicated. 0815 hours. First American casualties occurred. Not from combat, from improvised explosive device. Venezuelan special forces planted IED on road leading to Paraguaná refinery. Army Rangers convoy hit the device. 1 Humvee destroyed. 4 soldiers killed instantly. 7 wounded. This was guerrilla warfare beginning. American forces controlled the sites. But they didn't control the approach roads. Venezuelan forces could harass, ambush, and attrite American forces. Without engaging in conventional battle, they would lose. The IED attack was not militarily significant. 4 casualties don't change strategic balance, but it demonstrated American vulnerability. Control of facilities means nothing if forces inside are besieged. Supplying them requires helicopter flights or armored convoys. Both are vulnerable to ambush. The occupation was already more costly than planners anticipated. 900 hours. Venezuelan president addressed the nation again. Speech was defiant. America invaded sovereign nation without provocation. Venezuela will resist with all means available. Call went out to all citizens to join resistance. Weapons would be distributed to militias. Every Venezuelan must defend their homeland. The speech was broadcast from unknown location. American intelligence could not locate him. He was probably in hardened bunker deep underground. Killing him would require massive bunker-buster bomb that might miss. Better to leave him talking than create martyr by failed assassination attempt. But his continued survival and defiant messaging complicated American narrative. This was supposed to be quick regime change. President was supposed to flee. Government was supposed to collapse. Reality was proving different. This kind of detailed tactical breakdown takes hours to research. Subscribe to help us keep making them. 1,000 hours. B-2 stealth bombers struck strategic targets. 3 bombers departed Whiteman Air Force Base 18 hours earlier. Each carried 16 2,000-pound JDAM guided bombs. Targets were Venezuelan government facilities, military command centers, and intelligence headquarters. The bombers penetrated Venezuelan airspace undetected at 50,000 feet. At 1,000 hours, bombs began falling. Presidential Palace took 4 direct hits. Building partially collapsed. Government offices were destroyed. Intelligence headquarters disintegrated. Ministry of Defense Command Center was obliterated. The bombing was supposed to decapitate Venezuelan government. But key officials had evacuated days earlier. The buildings were empty. American achieved tactical success, destroying infrastructure. But strategic goal of killing leadership failed. The expensive bombing campaign destroyed symbols without destroying regime. 1,100 hours. First American aircraft loss. Venezuelan Mobile Air Defense Unit activated S-300 system that survived initial Tomahawk barrage. The unit remained hidden in jungle using camouflage and emissions control. American intelligence hadn't detected it. At 1,100 hours, FA-18 Super Hornet flew over the position conducting reconnaissance. S-300 radar activated, missile launched. Super Hornet detected the launch and executed evasive maneuvers. The pilot ejected successfully before missile impact. Aircraft destroyed. Pilot rescued by helicopter 3 hours later. The loss was not strategically significant, but it demonstrated Venezuelan capability to threaten American aircraft. Any plane flying over Venezuela risked being shot down. Close air support would be dangerous. American forces on ground would have limited air cover. The war was becoming more complicated by the hour. 1,200 hours. UN Security Council convened emergency session. Russia and China demanded resolution condemning American invasion. United States vetoed the resolution. European nations abstained. Latin American countries were divided. Mexico and Nicaragua condemned invasion. Colombia and Brazil remained neutral. Chile and Argentina quietly supported American action. Organization of American states meeting was equally divided. The diplomatic battle reflected deeper reality. International institutions cannot constrain great powers. America would fight this war regardless of international opinion. Condemnations mean nothing when you're superpower with overwhelming military force. but diplomatic isolation would have long-term costs. Every burned bridge is bridge that cannot be used later. Your engagement directly shapes what we cover next. Drop a comment and subscribe. 1300 hours. Civilian casualties began mounting. American strikes were precise, but urban warfare creates collateral damage. Bomb targeting military communications center destroyed apartment building next door. 47 civilians died. Strike on military convoy passed near school bus. 12 children killed. American rules of engagement required positive identification and proportionality assessment. But in fast-moving combat, mistakes happen. Each civilian death is tragedy. Each tragedy is Venezuelan propaganda victory. International media broadcast images of dead children. American narrative about surgical precision was undermined by reality of war. Public opinion globally shifted against invasion. Even American public began questioning whether oil was worth killing children. 1430 hours. Venezuelan economic retaliation commenced. All oil production ceased immediately. 700,000 barrels daily removed from global markets. This was Venezuela's only effective weapon against America. Military cannot win. Economy cannot compete. But oil weapon works. Global prices spiked $28 per barrel in 6 hours. American gasoline prices jumped $1.10 per gallon overnight. Airline stocks crashed. Shipping companies faced bankruptcy. The economic damage to American economy exceeded $100 billion monthly. Venezuelan oil shutdown was hurting America more than American bombs hurt Venezuela. This was asymmetric warfare using economic weapons. It was working. 1600 hours. 8-hour assessment showed mixed results. Military objectives achieved. Air superiority established. Naval dominance complete. Oil infrastructure secured. Venezuelan military degraded. But strategic objectives remained unfulfilled. Venezuelan government functioning. President defiant. Military resisting. Urban warfare beginning. International condemnation mounting. Economic costs exploding. Cuban forces engaged. Chinese threatening. Colombian borders closed. The invasion that was supposed to be finished in 72 hours was only 8 hours old and already behind schedule. Worse, no clear path to victory was emerging. America could destroy Venezuelan military, but occupation would cost thousands of American lives. Installing puppet government would create insurgency lasting years. The invasion was military success. It was also strategic disaster. If you made it this far, you're the core of our community. Like, subscribe, and hit that bell. 1800 hours. Sunset on day 1. Caracas was burning but unbowed. Venezuelan flag still flew. President still broadcasting. Military still fighting. American forces controlled oil installations, but nothing else. The occupation was beginning, but outcome was uncertain. Would Venezuelan resistance collapse or intensify? Would international pressure force American withdrawal? Would economic costs become unsustainable? The answers would emerge in coming days. But one thing was certain. The war in the Caribbean had begun, and it would not end quickly or cleanly. America entered thinking this would be easy. Venezuela proved it wrong. The hemisphere was learning costly lesson. American military power can destroy armies, but it cannot control populations, cannot win hearts and minds, cannot impose political solutions by force alone. The first day of Caribbean War revealed eternal truth about military interventions. They start with overwhelming force and confident predictions. They end years later with ambiguous outcomes and enormous costs. Day 1 was military triumph. Technically brilliant, tactically perfect, strategically questionable, politically disastrous. American forces achieved all military objectives. But military objectives were not same as war objectives. Regime change requires more than destroying enemy forces. Requires controlling territory, maintaining occupation, preventing insurgency, building new government, winning popular support. None of that happens quickly or easily. Venezuela was learning to resist. America was learning that victory is harder than conquest. War in the Caribbean, Day 1 complete. Caracas burning but unbowed. Venezuelan military shattered but resisting. American forces victorious but uncertain. Oil infrastructure secured but production stopped. International opinion horrified. Regional stability collapsed. Economic costs mounting. Strategic objectives unmet. This was beginning, not end. The real war was just starting. Urban warfare, guerrilla resistance, economic pressure, diplomatic isolation. All the factors that turn quick victory into endless quagmire. America won Day 1. Venezuela might win the war by making American victory too expensive to sustain. This is how invasions begin. This is how occupations fail. This is war in the Caribbean, and nobody knows how it ends.